I think most people don't actually look at the world as it is. They look at it through their map or frame of the world. And their map or frame is a construct of their conditioning.
Do you believe that you can rewrite your story, reinvent yourself, and become more than you ever thought? Whatever your answer, Craig Siegel, founder of Cultivate Lasting Symphony, lets us in on how his journey from Wall Street to the street of purpose and passion, and how he reinvented himself by realizing he wanted to help people reach their full potential. And now, in less than 3 years, Craig is a global keynote speaker, rising thought leader, and endorsed by some of the world's well-known celebrities, entrepreneurs, athletes, and entertainers, and has created change for millions of people worldwide. His secret? Removing limiting beliefs and assumptions and revamping your mindset. Wouldn't we all like to create change in our lives? These compelling and extraordinary conversations can help you make better life choices. I'm Terry Yoffe, executive career and business coach and founder of Try Coaching. Welcome, Craig Siegel. How are you today?
I'm doing phenomenal. And to be honest with you, actually, I couldn't be doing any better. Every single time I connect with you, I just feel alive. I feel excited. There's so much synergy here. We hit it off, and I'm excited to be here. So let's rock.
So, Craig Siegel, tell us a little bit about how you got as to where you are in a very short time.
Yeah, thank you for all the beautiful words and so forth. So I reinvented myself a couple of years back in the beginning of the pandemic and the lockdown. And people think to the naked eye that it's been an overnight success. But what I think they may not realize until they read the book coming out in August is that I had been working on myself for 15 years. I had been studying personal development, neurolinguistic programming, the law of attraction, Kabbalah, emotional intelligence, historic figures, you name it. And I had been documenting it and journaling and so forth. And how we got here was that I was on Wall Street for 13 years and I was making money, which I attributed to be successful at that season of life. Clearly, I was a bit more unenlightened and immature, but you got to start somewhere. And I found myself in a dark place a few years back after I'd gotten out of a toxic relationship. My best friend, my dad, had got diagnosed with cancer. And I just wasn't having any more fun. And when I say fun, I don't just mean career, I mean like in the world. But I didn't stay there too long. I'm not sure if I found running or running found me, but I started running a bunch of marathons, which proved to be kind of like this gateway drug for me. And it just made me available that I have the confidence, the courage, that I could do hard things. I could be a beginner again. But then the pandemic happened. Bang. Talk about a global awakening, T. For me specifically, it was a historic opportunity because I said to myself, I don't know when I'll ever have this opportunity again in my lifetime where the world is literally sitting still and I can actually take a second to just reassess. And I did, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. It occurred to me just how miserable I was. And I realized at that moment that I would actually rather die than choose to go back to doing what I was doing on Wall Street after the lockdown and be miserable on my own account. And so with that brief, or what I thought would be brief, intermission in the beginning of lockdown, I just started making myself available to find out what I love. And it came to me pretty quickly. I'm obsessed with personal development. I also realized it's more than just a passion. It's my purpose. It's my assignment. I combine that with my ability to communicate effectively. And literally the next day on a run in Central Park, it just came to me. My CLS brand, Cultivate Lasting Symphony, CLS are playing my initials. I came back and I started putting together a strategy. I did not want to be the next Tony Robbins. I want to be the first Craig Siegel. And you never know how something like this will pan out. But for me, the cost of inaction was way too high. And I took all the personal development that I had been studying and I transferred it to what I'm going to start doing now. And the universe like that. And for the first time in my life, I'm in 100% alignment. And that's why it always appears that I'm on fire, because for the first time in my life, my soul is genuinely lit.
How did you really put into action that purpose and passion of helping people, which is what you do?
And I think it comes down to execution. You're right. A lot of people acknowledge that they're here for something more than they're currently settling for. And a lot of people have ambitions to reinvent themselves or do something different. But a lot of people aren't all in. They're interested, they're not committed. And for me, once it finally came to me for the first time in my life, I had a bit of clarity. I was going to die trying, straight up. Like, what my worst case scenario, I was already living in because I did not like my career. And spoiler alert for your listeners, you're going to spend at least a third of your life in your career. So you better love it. And so for me, it was like, I've been successful at Wall Street. I went from not being able to run to running so many marathons at really impressive times. So was it those things that made me successful, or was it me? And just like you or anyone listening, it's actually you that's successful. And once I realized that the skill sets were transferable. And so now that I found what I love and what I believe I'm here for, I went all in. So when in the beginning of the pandemic, when a lot of people were doing Netflix, specifically that Tiger show and day drinking, that wasn't me. I was building a brand. I was making content. I was trying new things. I was not afraid to look silly. I was putting myself out there. I was introducing myself. I was making connections. And my thought process was, I'm going to make this thing work or I'm going to die trying. And if it didn't work, I can live with that. But what I can't live with is now that I finally have clarity and not seeing it through. So the big separator, in my opinion, to answer your question, is I was all in. I think a lot of people are lying to themselves. They want to do something, but their habits and their behaviors don't show that they're really all in.
Yeah, I'm a coach. I've been a coach for 20 years. I work with clients, and one of the things you believe in also is removing limiting beliefs and revamping your mindset. So we all have assumptions, limiting beliefs that keep us stuck in where we are. And most people, until I actually work with people and we look at the limiting beliefs, they have no idea that they are limiting. If you were to talk about that a little bit, limiting beliefs, revamping your mindset, how would that play out?
Yeah, I think most people are not where they want to be because of the limiting beliefs that have grown over time. And it's interesting, for Passover this weekend, I was home and I spent some time with my nephew, who's not even 3 years young yet. And that kid, I mean, he's just a bundle of joy and like so happy-go-lucky. And why is that? Well, part of it, I believe, is that he hasn't been beaten down by life yet. Where our birthright is abundance,
Absolutely.
right? But we end up cultivating these limiting beliefs based upon scarcity, based upon society, our upbringing, parents, the news, social media, and we start to compare ourselves, to think that we're not worthy. And just to be clear, I think unworthiness is the biggest virus plaguing us today. And so you can't change it if you can't see it, right? So for me personally, when I was so invested in this story, in this movie, that I was a Wall Street guy, I'd never really find true love, I would never really be happy, it occurred to me that that wasn't a fact, because thoughts are not facts. I had cultivated these limiting beliefs and I was very invested in them. In the lockdown, when it occurred to me that I have a choice, I could choose a different story, I could choose a different movie, I could change the next scene. And then all of a sudden, my limiting beliefs started to evaporate, and I started to replace them with positive thoughts and beliefs. And then all of a sudden, instead of thinking about what can go wrong, I started doubling down on, well, what can go right? And I changed my whole physiology, my frequency. I started to become a vibrational match. And it's interesting because I think most people don't actually look at the world as it is. They look at it through their map or frame of the world. And their map or frame is a construct of their conditioning and over time, what they tell themselves to be true or not true or possible or not possible. So I think the biggest breakthrough, or at least one of them that we can even land here today, is for your listeners, is just understand that once you become aware that your beliefs are not actually facts, now we can reverse engineer it and we can start to do the work to change those beliefs, get rid of the limiting ones and implement more abundant ones that give you possibilities and opportunities. But you have to take the awareness factor first, because you can't change it if you can't see it.
So true. And obviously, I work with people on that very subject, limiting beliefs. And going back to I think every client I've ever spoken to, there's always the thread of unworthiness, not valued. And then that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So off of that, you have, for me, obviously, in working with clients, you really have to work with them. It doesn't happen overnight. I have a client I worked with prior, and she's come back to me, and she's always been a fixer. She's never said no. She's never set boundaries with her family. She's always, oh, I'll do it. I'll do it. It took, I don't know how long for her to finally say, no, I am not going to be able to help you. That was major, but it takes time. Limiting beliefs are there for a reason. They're there to protect. And, you know, you're going to battle with the mind, and it's not easily done to, even if you see the limiting beliefs, for people to make that change, it takes coaxing. It takes, for me, as clients have told me, I hold that mirror up until they have to look at themselves.
Ooh, that's good.
And it's painful. And here you are 3 years later. It's like people can take 5 and 10 years to get to where you are. 3 years is a blink of an eye to develop what you've developed over time. Your keynote speaking, working with celebrities, having all these great people on your podcasts.
Thank you.
Really, it's phenomenal.
Thank you, T.
What advice can you give the audience that, you know, they might sit here and say, oh, I can do it in 3 years, but that's not always possible.
First and foremost, I think the most important sale that we'll ever make is to sell ourselves that we are worthy. And if you believe in yourself, now it's a great foundation to build upon. So from there, we don't have to have all the answers right away. Now we just know that we're resourceful and we're creative enough. We can surround ourselves with the right people. I was very intentional with everything that I've done since I started CLS, specifically people I surrounded myself with. I like to be around people that aren't necessarily better than me, but are a little bit further ahead because it's contagious and they supply perspective and they've paid the dummy taxes, so to speak. And I can learn from that and so forth. But also, like, you got to look yourself in the mirror and say, how bad do you want it? Because specifically in entrepreneurship, but really in anything really special or magical, worth creating is going to have its moments. The days where the problem seems so big, or you don't believe in yourself, or something goes wrong and the setbacks, you have to be able to power through those and just know that they're just temporary and they're part of the process. And one thing I really did well, and I'll acknowledge myself for this, because I worked on it, I wasn't always like this, was to really fall in love with the journey. And it's great to have intentions. You should have a vision board or a whiteboard or anything like that. Set the big audacious goals, but then divorce from that and really just focus on, well, what can you do today to move the chains a little bit? What effort can you allocate today to get a little bit further ahead? And if you're married to that each and every single day, you're adaptable, you're available, you have a good attitude, and you're willing to do what it takes and surround yourself with the right people, I believe you'll succeed. It's just that most people that I've seen, they want to do what I'm doing. And I go, okay, that's great. But do you want to do what I did? Right? Do you want to work 20 hours a day in the beginning when you're building something? And just to be clear, it's not really work to me because I love it. Like speaking to you right now, I love this. No place else I'd rather be. It's not work. But it takes that season of grind in the beginning. Like you have to make sacrifices, right? I was very fortunate enough when I reinvented myself. It wasn't only my career. It was my life. I met my fiance, Alessia, but I wasn't looking. Like I was all in on my career. You have to make certain sacrifices. That might mean saying no to a lot of different things, whether it's socializing or people in your life that bring down your frequency, whatever the case may be. You have to be dialed in. And for me, I'm really getting better at focusing on focusing. And what I mean by that is like, if I'm working, like nothing else in the world matters to me other than the task, or how can I help someone, or how can I build a brand and so forth. So you got to be adaptable. You have to fall in love with the process, and you have to be able to weather the inevitable storms.
I've had many careers, many. And I think for me, and maybe it was because I didn't exactly grow up in the best environment, I had to look out for me. I had to persevere. I had to build my own inner strength. And there was a time that I lost my job. I had no idea what I was going to do. I had jewelry I sold. I knocked on doors. I got assignments. Even though I fell, I always got up and a door opened because I never, ever gave up. And I went into advertising sales and did phenomenally well. And my husband kept saying, start your own business, start your own. I wasn't ready until I was ready. And then I started it and did very, very well. And then that dried up and I went into coaching. I had to go from up here down to the basement to start all over again. And I wasn't 20 or 30, I was older. And yet I did it. And I understand that people would look at you, or they looked at me and they say, oh, great, I want to be like you. However, they see what's in front of them and they don't see what took place to get to where you are. And you're right. A lot of people say, oh, I want to do this, but they don't want to put the effort in. So they don't. And then they wonder why they didn't get to look like you.
And I love that you just shared a little bit about your story, because I wasn't familiar with that. But the shoe fits, it adds up. And I acknowledge you for that. And it's so true. People are scared of adversity. People are scared of hard work. But I think if you speak to anyone that really made a dent in the universe and really made an impact, they'll tell you it's a part of the process. So you don't have to love it necessarily, but you have to accept it. It's part of the journey.
For me, as I think for you, making a difference and making an impact was always there for me. I did it throughout my career, no matter what I did, no matter what area I was in. And of course, in coaching, I do that with clients. But a year ago, and again, I'm not a kid, I started podcasting, something so new for me that I wanted to have a voice in creating change. And that's what you're doing, creating change with millions of people. So tell us a little bit how you do that.
Thank you for that. And I love that you did that, right? And you're not afraid to be a beginner. It's one of the many things I admire about you. I'm doing things a little bit differently than the people that maybe came before me, so to speak. I just try to be as authentic as I possibly can. I'm weird, I'm strange, I have funny catchphrases, and I just want to connect with people, and I want to keep it real, and I want to resonate with them. And it's raw, and I understand I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and that's okay. What I started Siegel as, I made one guarantee, and that was that for the first time in my life, I would be 100% me, show up that way, and not be a people pleaser, and just do the best that I can to the best of my abilities with the tools that I have. And I understood that some people will gravitate away, but I think the right people will gravitate towards me. And I really doubled down on that. And if you look at our brand, I think we do things a little bit differently than I've seen. I get guests on the show from all walks of life. There's some common denominators, of course, celebrities, athletes, actors, and entrepreneurs, stuff like that. But I like to get people where someone in some capacity can relate to that person. Keep it different, sprinkle people in, hit home with different messages. Same thing with the membership, the community which you're a part of. We bring in different guest speakers. I like to hit on different topics. Whatever I feel called to, what I think the audience can really benefit from is what I double down on. And I'm not married to one specific thing. And honestly, as a human, I'm continuously to growing and evolving. And so as I work on myself every single day, I pour that back into the brand and the community. And I think for the majority of the people, they love that. And it's always something different. It's refreshing because as I continue to grow, the community grows along with me. So best way I know to do that is to really make the emphasis on helping people and connecting and supporting people. and just trying to resonate with everybody in some capacity.
For me, and I know for you and people like us, I'm going to look at the overarching connection. In order to do what we do, there has to be trust, there has to be integrity, and of course, connection and being real. Because without those, nobody's going to come to you or to me. So talk a little bit about the authenticity, the integrity, the honesty, the trustfulness.
This is something I've been struggling with lately, if I'm being honest with you. It's
Wow.
because, yeah, I'll always keep it real with you, T, and your listeners. I wasn't always like this, but over the last 2.5 years since I started CLS, it wasn't just a career change, like I told you. It was really a whole identity upgrade and reinvention. And I just have so much love in my heart, for better or for worse. Sometimes my fiance, Alessia, who's a bit more of a savage, she's a good balance. She'll say some of those people don't deserve all that love. And she's right. But I always want to see the best in people. I always go the extra mile. I always want to help people. And sometimes it bites me in the butt. But I was actually wrestling with this today. And I was thinking, what's the alternative? Like, start being a little bit more cold? That's just not in my DNA right now. That's not who I am. That's not how we got to where we are in a relatively short amount of time. So I'm going to keep giving humanity a benefit of the doubt. I'm going to keep helping people to the best of my abilities. I understand not everybody has the best integrity. Not everybody is in full alignment with my core values, but I'm going to continue to spread the message and try my best. And that's really something that I can live with, is that when I show up, I do the best that I can. I lived with honor, with integrity, and I'm selfless. And I try to help people the best that I can. And I can't always control what happens after that. And I could beat myself up about it. And Alessia likes to tell me, I told you so. I think I'm getting a little bit better at navigating, okay, who deserves a little bit extra attention right now and maybe who does not yet. But for the most part, I'm doing the best I can to navigate it. And I just have a lot of love to give. And I really just believe in everybody, straight up.
I'm with you, actually. I've had to struggle with that because I've gotten, especially with friends, where I'm a giver with friends, not the world, because I care. And when somebody turns their back on you or does something, it takes a while. And with clients, I've seen it with people. And after a while, I just said, you know what? There are some bad apples in the barrel.
There are.
However, there are more better, if there's no such thing as more better, but better people that care. So I've learned to let it go and say, you know what? This is who I am. I'm also sensitive in a lot of ways.
Same.
And not everybody feels the way we do. And you know what? I shrug it off and I say, let them go. Let them be who they are. Karma's always around the corner.
It really is, yeah. And also, something that's helped me a little bit, actually a lot, if I'm being honest, is when something like that happens and there's a falling out or someone goes their separate ways, I feel as though I'm being protected, propelled, and promoted to something greater, or that person wasn't meant to ascend with me. And I believe that in regards to my faith and so forth. So I believe that, and I let that guide me.
This has been incredible. We could go on. What's one last piece of advice, tidbit, you can leave our audience with, Craig Siegel, who's done phenomenally well in 3 years?
I think that there's a big misconception that you can't have it all. In other words, like, you can't combine making a great living, having a lot of fun, and make an impact. And I know that because I have contrast. I used to believe that that wasn't true. In fact, when people used to say, find what you love and you'll never work a day in your life, I used to think, okay, right. But I was wrong. And I'm so glad that I was, because I finally found it. I finally listened to that calling. And just to be clear, everybody has something in them that they want, that they should do something, or whether it's a whisper or they feel a tug or a call. It's not always going to shout at you like through a megaphone. Sometimes it's very little, but pay attention to it, explore it, see where it leads you. Take a journal, write down what you love, see what you're good at, see if there's any commonalities there. we're not here for that long. Even if you live to 120, it's not that long. And we got to make every second count. It could be gone in an instant. And I don't know about all you listeners, but I imagine they would agree that we're here for a specific reason, all of us. And I think our purpose is to identify what that is and then be of service. Combine that with making a lucrative living. Find what sets your soul on fire. Say no to things that aren't a hell yes, right? Don't surround yourself with people that lower your vibe. Stay in that bubble of serenity, and you can absolutely do whatever it is that you desire. You got to be willing to put in the work. You have to stay available. You have to surround yourself with the right people. It takes work and so forth. But I think that none of us should ever, ever settle. And if you don't feel good about the way your life is going right now, that's feedback from God, from the universe, whatever it is that you believe in, that's letting you know that you're not in alignment, right? Because your soul is supposed to be lit. And to circle back how we started the conversation, over time we get beaten down, whether it's a limiting belief, society, bad experiences, whatever the case may be. And it makes us think that, oh, we'll never have it all. We'll never find all that happiness. It's not true. That's a limiting belief. And I challenge everybody to challenge their limiting beliefs and explore what they love, what they're good at, and to make the most of every single second. And just to turn it back on, you said it didn't take that long to do what I've done. And I guess in the grand scheme of things, that's true. So that should be an indication to everybody. If I could do it, you could do it. But you have to be available. You have to buy in. You have to believe in yourself. And then you got to execute.
What advice? Execute. Don't let limiting beliefs get in your way. Revamp your mindset. Have a growth mindset. So, Craig, this has been an amazing conversation. And with everything you've done, everything, you've yet found time to write a book. Tell us a little about it. And I think it's coming out in August. And if people want it, how can they pre-order?
Yeah, I thought you never asked, right? So it's available for pre-order as of right now. Anywhere you can buy books, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, all that good stuff. So for me, one of the things that I wanted to do when I started CLS and reinvented myself was the 10-lane highway, or the multi-lane highway, consisted of many different lanes: the speaking, the coaching, the podcast, all that. One of them was always a book. I just wasn't in a rush because I was building. I was building the brand, extending the reach, adding value. And for me personally, I didn't want to self-publish it because I wanted to have a major publishing house behind me. And I just wanted to add a little credibility and do it big, just like we did everything else. And so I wasn't forcing it. It'll come when it'll come. I did manifest it, so to speak, but I put it on the vision board and I kind of just surrendered and flowed. And then Wiley, one of the biggest publishers in our space, came to us. We negotiated a record first-time author book deal with them, and it just felt right. And the reason why I'm so proud and so passionate about this book is because for 15 years, while I was on Wall Street, while I was having success from a financial standpoint, I was doing personal development. I was studying it: emotional intelligence, law of attraction, Kabbalah, NLP, historic figures, all that. And I was documenting it. And so with our new book coming out, The Reinvention Formula, I was able to take it all and put it into one vessel, like a one-stop shop, so to speak. Everything that I've built to reinvent myself in this world, not just career, identity, removing blockages, removing the interference, NLP, how to reprogram your mind, build rapport, sales, how to build an audience, entrepreneurship. It's very unique. I've read all the personal development books in this space, or a lot of them, I should say. Haven't seen something quite like this. It's a lot of my story, a lot of the mistakes that I made, and a lot of the setbacks and the lessons that I learned and extracted so that people can pick up this book and learn it all, and hopefully be able to minimize some of the mistakes that I made, or the dummy taxes, as we like to say. In regards to like commercial success and stuff like that, look, I'm not going to make any predictions, but I will say this. I put my heart and soul into every single word, in every sentence, in every paragraph, in every page. I know it's going to help a lot of people. Hope it does really well also. But I wrote this with the mindset that I don't know if there'll ever be a book two. I want to take everything that I've cultivated over the last 37 years and put it in this one vessel. So I'm very excited about it. It comes out August 15th. And like I said, it's available now anywhere you buy books.
Wow, I cannot wait to read it. I've also done NLP. I've done a lot of the things that you've done as well. We are learners. That's what I call myself. Everyone that knows me knows I'm a learner from as long as I can remember. And so are you. And you have put it into the reinvention formula.
That's right.
Good luck with the book. I am very excited for you. I'm going to get it when I can pre-order it, and looking forward to have you signing it.
Done and done. I can't wait to hear your takeaways. And again, thank you for everything. So much love and respect for you. And I just admire you so much. And was you and I talk personally offline and so forth. And I love that you're not afraid to be a beginner again. You're constantly reinventing yourself. And you're not worried about the fact that you don't have experience in certain areas. You are bold and courageous, and you can draw confidence from figuring things out in the past, knowing that even though something you're stepping into, like a podcast, you may not know all that, how it works and so forth, but you know that you're resourceful and creative, and you could surround yourself with the right people and you will figure it out. So you keep on doing your thing, because you're inspiring a whole lot of people, myself included.
Oh, thank you. That's the best compliment I could have gotten. Craig Siegel, this has been so wonderful. You know how I feel about you. I am honored that you were on this podcast and we had this incredible conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, T.
Thank you for joining the conversation. For related content on extraordinary work, visit my website, trycoaching.com. I'll be back in 2 weeks with another conversation. If you enjoyed this podcast, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts and be sure to subscribe to future podcasts so you don't miss an episode. Always remember, when you work with passion and purpose, your work can become extraordinary. You won't want to miss our next guest, Aaron Wexler, athlete, entrepreneur, and best-selling author of The Inspired Athlete. Aaron talks to us about his mission to inspire the next generation by sharing insights of accomplished athletes, coaches, and entrepreneurs, and how lessons learned in sports can help develop other areas of one's life, including spirituality, creativity, business, and relationships.